is 10 o'clock and it's time for the council to be in session. Mrs. Goldberg's here. They have 2 members present. We need 8 more for a quorum. It's 15 minutes after 10, and we have 8 members present. We need 2 for a quorum. We have 9 members present. We have Mr. Alatorre, Mrs. Chick, Mr. Fuhr, Ms. Goldberg, Ms. Mistakowski, Mr. Ridley Thomas, Mr. Savornich, and Mr. Wax. We need 2 members.
Alarcon, Alatorre, Burnson, Chick, Fuhr, Galanter, Goldberg, Hernandez, Holden, Miscowski, Ridley Thomas, Savornich, Wax, Walters, Ferraro. 11 council members present and a quorum, Mr. President.
Okay, the council will please come to order. This is a meeting of the City Council for the City of Los Angeles on the 10th day of February 1998. There are 15 council districts in the city. The regular meeting days are Tuesday, Wednesdays, and Fridays. We are currently being viewed by cable subscribers throughout the Los Angeles area on Channel 35, and we're also being monitored by council phone. The first order of business.
Approval of the minutes.
All right, Mr. Burnson moves, Mrs. Chick seconds. There's no objections, unanimous vote. Could we have some order in the council chamber, please? Next item.
Commendatory resolutions for approval.
If there are no objections, unanimous vote. Next item.
Items noticed for public hearing today, Mr. President, are items 1 through 6.
All right, is there anybody in the chamber that wants to be heard on any of those items, 1 through 6? Anybody in the chamber wants to be heard on any of those items? Seeing none, the public hearing is closed.
Item 1, Mr. President, I've been advised by the department that should be continued 2 weeks to February 24th. Need a motion from the floor?
Ms. Goldberg moves. Item 1, is that?
Yes.
2 weeks?
2 weeks.
If there's no objections, that'll be the order.
Item 2, the department has recommended acceptance of the payment of $2,596 and to waive
Sergeant, could we have some quiet in the council chamber, please?
and to waive the administrative fee. Therefore, I need a motion from the floor to confirm the assessment on number 2 as modified.
Okay, Mr. Ridley Thomas so moves. If there's no objections, unanimous vote.
And item 3, I need a motion from the floor to receive and file.
Item 3. Mrs. Chick moves. There's no objections, unanimous vote.
That leaves
4.
items 4, 5, and 6 remaining. I need a motion to confirm the assessments.
All right, Mrs. Chick moves. Prepare the roll. Tabulate the vote.
12 ayes.
Those are approved. Next item.
Items for which public hearings have been held are items 7 through 14 and 39.
They have been held. All right, are there any specials by council members? 7 through 14 and 39. 12 is called special.
10, there's been a request to continue to Friday, Mr. President.
10, continue until Friday. There's no objections. That will be the order on number 10. Mr. Burnson's motion, Mr. Alatorre's motion. Okay, any other specials? If not, we have 7 through 14 and 39 with the exception of 10, which has already been acted on, and 12, which is called special. Tabulate the vote.
Is supposed to be held till Friday?
Yeah, we continued that already.
Thank you.
Okay, prepare the roll, tabulate the vote.
12 ayes.
Next item. Members of the council, on 39, building and safety was supposed to report to the council on that, and we've, We'll
It was continued from last week.
reconsider that for the purpose of getting a report. Okay. Next item.
On the balance of your regular agenda, then, you have items that have not held public hearings, items 15 through 35 and 38.
Okay. 15 through 35, we have somebody who wants to be heard on 30. And we have somebody who wants to be heard on 31. And we have somebody who wants to be heard on 38. So we'll call those special. Are there any other specials by council members? 15 through 35 and 38? First of all, there's no public hearing on those, closed on those except 30 and 31 and 38. Miss Galanter?
15, I'd like to continue for a week.
15, to continue 1 week. Is there any objection to that? On Ms. Galanter's motion, seeing none, that'll be the order. Okay, prepare the roll on 16 through 35, with the exception of 30 and 31. Tabulate the vote.
13 eyes.
Those are approved. 38 is called special, as well as 30 and 31. Next item.
Closed session items, Mr. President, on today's supplemental and regular agendas are our continued agenda, rather, 36, 37, and 40. Do you wish to hold those on the desk?
Yes, we'll hold them on the desk. Okay, we'll go.
Then the items that are remaining that are called special, 12, 30, 31, 38, 39, and closed sessions, 36, 37, and 40. First
Okay,
is 12.
Mr. Burnson, you called 12 special?
I just want some information on this. I believe this is the FEMA grant for the tying down the foundations. Is that correct? Is somebody here from Building and Safety? Is there somebody here from Building and Safety?
Somebody from Building and Safety?
12. Well, we got the chief, we got the assistant, but nobody's at the table.
Okay.
Mr. Holquin's here. Richard, what is the status of this program? This is the FEMA grant for the bolting down the foundations. Is that correct?
Yes.
And what is the status of that?
The ordinance is in place. We have all the plans, available for the homeowner. It's a optional ordinance. It's not mandatory.
It's not mandatory?
So we needed the money, though, to be able to assist some of the lower income people, to get this work done.
Why haven't we made this mandatory? This is probably one of the most basic things that will make sure that a single-family home is structurally damaged when it slips off the foundation. I thought that this program, I appreciate the fact that FEMA was going to assist us with some grant money, but why haven't we made this mandatory?
It's only mandatory when alterations are made to the building, but it's not a proactive mandatory ordinance.
Okay, well, we have the money, but it's strictly on a voluntary basis. I'm going to support this. I think we should, members of the council, but I am going to bring in a motion that we make it mandatory that all foundations all homes must be, and buildings bolted to their foundations. This is probably as basic as the URM ordinance, and we all saw what kind of damage could happen to single-family homes in the Northridge quake. Had this occurred in an older part of town, the force waves that we had in Northridge and Granada Hills, probably every home that wasn't on a bolted foundation would have been lost. So I think it's very important. I'll bring in a separate motion, and I'm
Okay.
going to support, I'm going to ask for an aye vote on this measure.
Anyone else want to be heard on 12? If not, prepare the roll, tabulate the vote.
13 eyes.
That is approved. Next item.
Yes, Mr. President, I'd like to move to reconsider item 23.
Get her number, I'm in the middle of it. What was that, Ms.?
Item 23, and ask on behalf of Mr. Hernandez's office that it be continued a week.
You want to reconsider item 23 and continue a week?
Yes.
Or is there any objections to that? Seeing none, that'll be the order.
Thank you very much.
Next item.
Item 30, called special, a card was submitted.
Mr. Shapiro.
Mr. President and council members, I rise to speak on, my name is Leonard Shapiro, I rise to speak on item number 30, which has to do with the juvenile justice delinquency problem, JJDP. You're appropriating, or you're making a request for an award from the federal government on the JJDP program for $575,000. Of this money, there's got to be a match of $49,000 and $23,000 from the city fund. Now, most of this money is going to be given to 7 people in the mayor's office who are actively working, it says here, on the mayor's criminal justice planning office. Now, if they're working so hard, how is it that we never see any report of their activity? I don't see any report on their activity at all. The city council appropriated $11 million on the Bridges program, which has to do with the city council taking a hand and deciding that you're going to prevent juvenile delinquency and gang formation in your own way through the schools. Now, the mayor has evidently got his own office too, and they're doing all this work. They need 4 mayoral aides, number 6, and mayoral aide number 8, number 3, and number 2. I would not hesitate to say that it's very needy to have a good program. My only point here is I don't know what kind of program the mayor has. For 5 years, they've been diddling around with a program supposed to be prevention of gangs, but the number of people in gangs have not gone down. The number of gangs has not gone down. The only thing that's gone down with the national incidents is the volume of crime completely. But the incidence of gangs and gang prevention and trying to do something about the entire gang situation has been nil in the city of LA. And if I'm wrong, show me a report. I'd like to see a report, Mr. President.
Oh, okay, that was the only card we had, so the public hearing is closed. Any discussion on this item?
Both committees concur, Mr. President.
All right, prepare the roll, tabulate the vote.
14 eyes.
That is approved. Next item.
31, called special, card is submitted.
All right. Mr. Shapiro.
Mr. President, item 31 concerns the establishment of a new single-purpose housing code enforcement. And for this, you need quite a number of people, not quite a number of people, a few people, 2 and 2, management analyst, and it's an entire program of $342,000. It doesn't stay on this statement exactly what this new code is going to be and who's going to, what the people who are involved in it are going to do. But it shows in detail where the money is going to be spent. Salaries general, $103,000, overtime, $10,000. They're going to work overtime already. Contractual services, $200,000. They're going to do a lot about the housing enforcement. I don't doubt that it's necessary to do the code. And while I'm on the subject, it also says you have to exempt from the hiring freeze. Here we come back to, again, the hiring freeze. All we see in these agenda items are different points on the hiring freeze. Please waive, please exempt from the hiring freeze. It's time that the city council decided you're going to get rid of the hiring freeze, which is not working right now. You don't issue reports on it. How many people are working for the government now? How many worked before? It's not working. You've got to establish some committee to look into the operation and determine what department personnel are necessary and what are unnecessary. If they're unnecessary, get rid of him or start the wheel turning to get rid of him. But if they are necessary, do what you have to keep them. Make sure that the that don't overlap each other, Mr. President.
Public hearing, if that's what it's called, is over. Any discussion on 31? If not, prepare the roll, tabulate the vote.
13 eyes.
That is approved. Next item.
38 called special. This is a Prop 5 motion. You also had a card submitted.
38, do we want to report on this, Mr. Deaton, for the public hearing? Huh? Yeah, we'll hold it on the table. Next item.
39 called
Welcome,
special.
Mr. Holden. Glad
Building
you're
and
here.
Safety staff is to report to council on item 39, center table.
39, Building and Safety is going to give us a report.
Good morning. Since this item was continued from on the council agenda of the last Tuesday, we have met extensively 3 times with several of the council assistants and the mayor's staff and tried to create some solutions. Specifically, the recommendation of the department is to convert the $450,000 from the URM grant toward the code enforcement and direct the Department of Building and Safety to present a comprehensive report regarding the use of the $450,000 plus the proposed $1 million grant, which is going to be coming up in the upcoming year for the proactive code enforcement. I recognize that there is a lot of issues regarding the code enforcement in the Department of Building and Safety, and it needs to be dealt with as a whole and globally. And the Department of Building and Safety requests time to work on that, 45 days to work on that and come back with a comprehensive report in that regard. Specifically, myself, I have been on board with the department for about 3 months, and the Assistant General Manager, Mr. Hogan, has been in his position for only 5 months, and that time allows us to look at the issues and come back with a comprehensive program to deal with the entire issue of the code enforcement. I'm well aware of the frustrations that the council and council officers have regarding the code enforcement, and the fact that we need to come back and look at the whole issue and deal with it differently, and that time will allow us to accomplish that task. Thank you.
Okay, you have other members that want to be heard? If not, Ms. Goldberg?
Yes. I think this exploration has been a real eye-opener. For example, for general complaint-based code enforcement, there are a total of 42 people. 20 of them do 1 and 2 family buildings, and 22 do everybody else. So it seems to me that first of all, we have, I hope, a look at the fact that there are not nearly enough people dealing with multi-unit, which is where I think you will find most of the difficulties in the city. But let me say one other thing. We requested and received the number of buildings in the URM program that are still not completed. And I'm happy to tell Ms. Chick and Mr. Burnson that you actually have no buildings left in your districts that have unreinforced masonry. Not true for some of the rest of us. Ms. Walters' district has 92 commercial and 14 residential buildings. Ms. Goldberg has 25 commercial and 3 residential. Mr. Hernandez has 21 commercial and 7 residential. Mr. Ridley Thomas has 50 commercial and 7 residential. In Council District 10, Mr. Holden has 24 commercial and 4 residential. Mr. Alatorre has 32 commercial and 3 residential. And when I asked why could they say in their report that they could make do with the money they have and remove people from this area, I found out why. They can't spend the URM money because there's only one person for the entire city of Los Angeles doing code inspections on unreinforced masonry buildings. So if you live or work in an unreinforced masonry building, the chances of that one person getting to you in the next 36 months, and we hope there's no earthquake in the next 36 months, are slim, little, and less. And I think that's a real problem. We are going to get a comprehensive report back, and I understand that you've inherited this, but it is very revealing. I'm somewhat reluctant to remove this money because hopefully when it comes back, what will happen is you'll have more than one person on unreinforced masonry, particularly in the remaining residential properties where people live. But of course, if you're working in a building that falls down, I guess it doesn't make any difference if you don't live there. So I'm very concerned about transferring this money, I have to say, even though it would be to a PACE program that would actually be helpful in my district. But with buildings that are all over the city, unreinforced and occupied, now I do realize in your report it says some are unoccupied, but a lot of them are occupied, it makes me very nervous to think that there's only going to be one person working, and that you don't believe you'll even spend what's remaining, about $300 and something thousand as I recall. In 3 years, you won't spend that money because with one person, it's very difficult to spend money. So I'd like to hear what other people have to say, but I'm very concerned
Your time is up, and there are a lot of
about
other people who want to be heard.
about this
Mr.
difficulty.
Bernstein.
Members of the council, this borders on criminal negligence. The ordinance was drafted in 1981, was passed by this council. The maximum period of time for completion was 11 years, is that right? Right. Okay, now here we are, 1998. We've had a major earthquake. Fortunately, the main force of the earthquake was not in the area where these buildings are, or you'd have had thousands of people killed. You get an earthquake of any kind of size on the Inglewood Newport or on the what's the park over here, Elysian Park fault, these buildings are going to come down. I'm telling you right now, they will come down. And we, each and every one of us, may be held criminally responsible. Certainly there will be great liability on the part of the city because we have an ordinance that was placed that was not enforced. Now, Mr. Edelman, I think you ought to listen to this because you're the head. You may have just got here, but you're in charge now and the buck stops with you.
Yes, sir.
Now, this needs to be enforced. There is no excuse, and Jackie, I hope you're listening now, because doesn't matter how many inspectors you have. We have a list of all the buildings. We know which ones have been completed and which ones haven't been completed. I'm going to make a motion. I'm going to make a motion now. No, I'm sorry, Mark. Just relax. I'm going to make a motion that if at least the basic wall anchors are not done on the remaining buildings in this category within 1 year from this date, that their certificate of occupancy be withdrawn. That's the only way we're going to get compliance. You've got to get compliance. I'm telling you that we are in a terrible position liability-wise, both financially for the city, and we may even be potentially culpable on a criminal basis for not making sure the ordinance is enforced. So it's in your court, and my motion is 1 year from today, all the buildings that are not in compliance either have to at least have done their basic wall anchors, which will prevent total collapse, or their certificate of occupancy will be removed. And that's my motion. This isn't a question of personnel. We know exactly where these buildings are. We know they haven't complied, who has complied, who hasn't. How many people live in these buildings? How many residents live in these buildings? You know, anybody know the answer to that? Mr. Holquin?
Yes, of the of the buildings that are occupied, the residential, the four, there's 14 units, and we estimate approximately 84 or so occupants.
So there are 14 buildings with 84 occupants, is that what it is?
14 units.
Oh, 14.
There's 4 buildings.
4 buildings? Okay, that's all we have in residential that's left?
That are occupied and they haven't done.
Oh, that are occupied, I see, okay. Well, they're still a sizable, that's about 4 times the amount that were killed in Northridge Meadows or in the Northridge quake. Yeah, there's also commercial, which we invite the public
Okay,
in.
Mr.
We must move forward with this thing. There's no excuse
Thank you,
why
Mr.
Building
Burns.
and Safety hasn't
Thank you, Mr.
enforced this
Burns.
ordinance.
Is there a second to Mr. Burnson's motion? Mr. Fuhrer, you're next.
Thank you, Mr. President. Recalling our last go-round on this, I very strongly shared these concerns about siphoning money from this extremely important function into another extremely important function. But I think that to fail to prioritize this matter is a grave error for us. I want to understand a little more about the URM program. Does URM, in addition to inspecting, provide supplemental funding to owners to help to rectify the problems created by unreinforced masonry?
No, not at the present time, no.
I can't hear you.
No, there is no supplemental funding.
There is no supplemental funding?
No, not that I know of.
All right, so URM just is pursuant to this, we go out and inspect.
We inspect, and the funding is used. Currently, there is no staffing for inspecting or doing it.
I know, which is, I agree, totally inexcusable.
Yeah.
Because we have,
The only money which is available is for demolishing the buildings. That's the only money available.
Okay. Now, Mr. Burnson, Mr. Burnson, the reason that I haven't seconded your motion yet, at least, however strongly I share your views regarding the critical nature of the problem, is I'm trying to figure out who gets punished and what incentives there are under your approach. If you revoke the certificate of occupancy, we have 2 things happen. The landlord obviously loses its building because they can't extract rents anymore, but the building is not demolished under that scenario. The building remains as a potential hazard to neighboring buildings. And so there has to be something about tearing down those buildings in this. But in addition to that, I'm wondering if there's another way for us to get at the problem as effectively as we can. Do you have any recommendations? For one, I can't believe we're going to take money from this program that hasn't been used in order to assure that we're living safely in our city. I mean, that's bad public policy. But for another, how do you constructively propose to address the issue, which has been zeroed in on so far?
In view of the importance of this, and I have to share with you, I very much share Councilmember Burnson's.
Okay, but I have very limited time, so do the politicking after you've answered the question. What's the answer?
We probably will have to shift the staff around to achieve that, or additional staff has to be authorized.
Okay, but now Mr. Burnson says revoke the CFO. Tell me if you think that is the most effective way to deal with the problem. Because again, in some ways what we want to say is we want to put as much pressure on the department to do its job. And that does not put pressure on the department to do its job. It puts another layer of pressure. The landlords and owners should be doing this unilaterally. That's part of the issue, and that's where your motion goes, Hal. But there's also the question of what to do for a department.
The revocation of the certificate of occupancy will do some to protect the occupants within, but the history has shown that the danger of the URM buildings is also on the passers-by.
Yes, right, that's what I'm talking. So the demolition has to come with it.
Yeah.
But what about your department? How are you going to best respond to this? Is the revocation of CFO still doesn't get to the point that we started to get to?
Thank you, Mr. Fuhrer.
Well, I'd like to answer the question.
Yeah.
You're
Mr.
correct,
Fuhrer?
it does not get to the heart of the problem.
And you propose, therefore...
Mr. Fuhrer?
Okay, I asked a question which...
You can ask another question to punch you,
It's
bro.
the same question.
Well, you won't be the only ones talking a second time. Mr. Ridley Thomas.
Mr. President, members of the council, it seems to me that we're going a bit far afield for relatively little money. Mr. Burnson, Mr. Fuhrer, Ms. Goldberg, clearly the points you make are an important one with respect to unreinforced masonry. But I think, in view of the fact that we have a program that is working, namely proactive code enforcement, which is what we want the entirety of the Building and Safety Department to begin to do. That is the way we wish for the department to behave. We want this basically to be a pilot. We know that it has demonstrated success up to this point. The objective is to make this pilot a citywide project. That's what's before us. We need resources to do it. Some of what is being debated now is being interpreted as scuttling the PACE program. I should hope that that concern can be put to rest. What we ought to do, I think, is to move forward the recommendation of the Building and Safety Department today. Mr. Burnson, your motion, I would think, Mr. Fuhr, you could no doubt second this with a great degree of ease, to move forward with the suggestion, tie this specifically to the budget process, make sure we go on record to expand the resources to this particular program in terms of unreinforced masonry, and get on with both things because we know that both are critically important. And Mr. Burnson, I would so move if you're inclined to be supportive of that. It's a friendly amendment to your motion. Mr. Alatorre can weigh in terms of helping us refine the amount of money that may be appropriate, but that way we do all of what we think we should do rather than dividing what's already a paltry amount of money that could not really do very much in the final analysis. So, Mr. President, I think that would help us move forward if you would entertain such a motion.
Did we have a second on that? Okay. Mrs. Walters?
Thank you, Mr. President, and I would second the motion made by Mr. Ridley Thomas, but I want to know from staff how one council district got to be in such a lopsided ratio with respect to the other council districts for these unreinforced masonry buildings, both commercial and residential. 92 commercial buildings and 14 residential structures. It's much higher than any other council district, and I'd like to know what it is you propose to do to rectify the situation.
The inventory of the unreinforced masonry buildings are in the older parts of the city, which concentrates in 8, 9, 10, and so forth. So, and also we have to look at whether the buildings were vacant or not. As you recall, building owners vacated their buildings rather than comply with the unreinforced masonry ordinance, and then the council in 1993 amended the ordinance again to allow building and safety to proceed towards demolition. Of course, we did not have the funding, which is where when we applied for the block grant for funding for demolition and staffing, the staffing was not approved. We received only $1 million for the demolition costs only. We again submitted another block grant application for the upcoming year, and the proposed consolidated plan did not include any unreinforced masonry.
All right, could
monies.
you tell me which of those 92 and which of the 14 are vacant structures?
I don't have that information at the moment.
We have that information in the list which was attached as an attachment to the council agenda, and it is broken down district by district, and we can go
I
through.
I don't have that information. Could you supply me with that information,
Most certainly.
please?
I would be glad to.
All right, fine, thank you.
Mrs. Chick?
Yes, colleagues, I very strongly recommend that we go forward today as amended now, both by my colleagues, and that what we are going to pass is 39A. And 39A basically says Go ahead and allocate the $450,000 from the unreinforced masonry, put it into proactive code enforcement, and give us, the Department of Building and Safety, while we're in the middle of moving the entire department out of City Hall, give us 4 to 6 weeks to come back to you and answer questions such as Mr. Fuhr's and Ms. Walters, and tell us exactly how they are going to recommend spending this very paltry amount of money. But colleagues, what we've got in the unreinforced masonry program is we had $900,000 allocated basically for demolition. Am I correct, gentlemen? The $900,000 for the URM program.
The starting point was $1 million. Of that, approximately $160,000 is spent. If $450,000 is reallocated,
okay,
there's about $360,000 remaining.
Right, but in your report over and over is the statement that the reason we're going so slowly with this and not making faster progress is we were never given staffing resources. We were given money to demolish buildings. We were not given money to go out and do the citations and the complicated work of getting property owners to comply. What we are doing in reallocating the $450,000 is potentially giving you the staffing that you have always needed to go after the remaining URM buildings. And there are 25,000 other demands for proactive code enforcement. What I am very eager to hear from the department in this 4-week period is coming back to us and giving us realistic talk on what kind of proactive code enforcement, on unreinforced masonry, on targeted neighborhood initiatives and other blighted areas and problems. What can you do? And I think that is very much going to lead into the discussion, what do we need to do and where do we need to bite the bullet in our budget process to give the Building and Safety Department and Housing that's taking on some of the code enforcement the resources that they need. Colleagues, I think we can look forward to a very good recommendation and more debate when Building and Safety comes back with the report. But what we should do today is have closure on this stage of the report and move forward with 39A. Let Building and Safety come back with some expert advice for us. Thank you.
Mr. Holden.
Mr. President, members, this is becoming even more confusing to me. The reason why it's confusing is because the PACE program has been working, had support before you got here, sir, Mr. Edelman, of the Building and Safety Department. You've been flip-flopping on this since you've been here. It had the support of the Police Department, had the support of the City Attorney's Office. All work together to make it happen. But I mean, I think we need somebody who can make a decision. This unreinforcement masonry program, we've saved some money because the owners have taken care of the problem themselves. In fact, just recently we had the McKinley building where they demolished it when a lot of stalling tactics were being employed around here, indicating we shouldn't do it. Is that correct? You can say yes or no. We went down the tubes. You don't even know what the McKinley building is. You've been here. You were here when we took care of that one.
I'm told the answer is yes, sir.
The answer is yes. You were told the answer. I told you the answer is yes before you asked your staff. Some things you just have to know. And one thing you should know is that the PACE program has worked so well and been so beneficial till homeowners within the specific targeted area have been improving on their own to be in compliance with the program long before they've been cited. That's working. I mean, obviously, the people who own these property where they have unreinforced masonry know what the problem is. They know it's there. It's been identified. Then what's the beef? Either they're going to knock it down or we're going to knock it down for them. Is that correct? Yes or no?
Yes, sir.
Right. So it just seemed to me that you're wasting the time. Every week we come in here with a big stalling tactic. Mr. Hernandez, who's been pushing his report, is not here today. And on that issue, I'm going to ask the clerk. On that issue, I'll ask the clerk who's talking to Burnson. Will Mr. Hernandez be in tomorrow? Mr.
Yes.
Hernandez will be in tomorrow. I think Mr. Hernandez, more than anyone else, can tell his story best. And I see no reason, Mr. President, members, he's talking to other than someone else, why we can't hold this over until Mr. Hernandez is here tomorrow. I don't think we should take any such action. He's put a lot of time into this project, into this effort. And so, well, they're not going to vote on it today anyway.
Are we ready for the vote, Mr. President?
Are they going to vote? Is it going to go forward intact? Committee report? All right, then we move Mr. Hernandez's committee report. If that's where it's going to go.
Ms. Galanter?
I had a question, I guess, about motion 39A. I am very anxious to see the PACE program not disappear, not run out of funding. And I understand that the committee report, item 39, would allow you to continue spending money at about the rate you've been spending it on reinforced masonry, and at the same time would allow us to fund the PACE program and get it going in my district as well. As you know, the district boundaries are a little bit artificial in some communities, and we are anxious to have that happen. I am not clear, and I would appreciate from you, Mrs. Chick, or anybody, I'm not clear about the effect of adopting 39A. It looks to me as if that means that the PACE program would evaporate, at least on an interim basis, which makes me very uncomfortable indeed. Is that a yes? It would. The effect of this would. Well, you have one head shaking yes. Well, he's the only person who moved.
I know that the PACE program is funded through the end of March, working in your district, as well as others, and that the funding that's been given to it continues that existing funding. What is, I think, still up for some discussion is when Building and Safety comes back and says, here's this $1.4 million budget for next year, and here's how we can use it. We could fund one PACE
Okay, wait,
team.
you're on my time
sorry.
here, but is what you're telling me that this motion that you've introduced, the amendment, would not interfere with the PACE funding?
That's gone forward already.
Wait, which has gone forward?
The PACE, Council Member, the PACE program is funded and will continue through March 31st, 1998. What we are discussing here, what is going to transpire as of April 1, 1998.
Right, and so that's my question. If we adopt the committee report, there will be money for PACE in April 98, right?
Right. That's correct.
Yes and no.
Yes. The recommendation is that we will be coming back, the department will be coming back with a comprehensive program.
No, wait, wait, hold on, I'm sorry, I'm just trying to follow this. The committee's recommendation, is that what you're talking about? Is that you'll be coming back at the end of this 30 days, right? But it says reprogram funding by doing 6 different things. One is initiate this 30-day period, and then the others all come upon at the end of the 30-day period. Is that right?
I do not have the sheet that you have in front of you, but...
Oh. Okay, no, that's not the one, that's not it, Jackie. It's the committee report I'm looking at. Okay.
If we adopt the committee report,
Yeah.
we are locking in money for next year, $450,000.
Right.
To continue the PACE program after April 1st.
Right, okay.
And
If we adopt this, then what?
We are waiting for Building and Safety to come back and say, so we're not locking into anything. We're neither saying PACE won't be funded, nor are we saying PACE will be funded.
Okay, thank you, that's very helpful. But if we adopt the committee report, you would still, even without the amending motion, you would still be coming back at the end of 30 days to report to us, right?
I believe so.
Okay, thank you.
Ms. Goldberg?
I would urge that we adopt 39 as amended with 39A. because I think that it's important for us to have all the information before we allocate this $450,000. Even if you want the 450 to go into a citywide PACE, I would urge you to at least wait until 39A comes back. Because if you spend the 450 today on citywide PACE, and the report comes back and says the most crucial thing is to finish the residential URM, you haven't got any money to do it. And I think that would be criminal. I really do. I think that we have to find out what the information is, and I think that we have a new leadership in the department that is more than willing to pursue this wherever it takes you as to the best use of the money. And I hope that we can avoid prejudging the issue by voting for it before we know what the answers are. Because otherwise you get the answer and you say, well, it's too bad, we've already spent the money. And I don't think that's good public policy. And I think that it does not accept the reality that if we know that there are unreinforced masonry buildings out there and we leave people in them, and we don't do anything to try to develop a program where they can get some assistance in repairing them or demolishing them. You know, we had $1 million in this unreinforced masonry program beginning October 1996. We have spent $187,000. It's already lost some of its money, and now it's about to lose more of its money. And the remaining $362,000, they think it'll take 3 years to spend, and our only thing to tell people who are in those buildings is cross your fingers and hope that there are no earthquakes until then, which includes a 24-unit building on Windward Avenue in CD6, among other buildings that are unreinforced and occupied. So I urge an aye vote on 39 as amended by 39A.
Mr. Burnson?
Members of the council, instead of appropriating the $450,000, I have a suggestion. And I think we really need to put some thought into this. There are ways of making money available to the property owners so they can do the work. Now, some of them have just not wanted to do it. Some of them have gotten by because nobody's enforced it and they're still collecting the rents. But we need to take this money, and if there is any other money available either through the CRA housing funds, and we need to set up a revolving loan fund that we go to the bank, we go to one of the banks that the city deals with, and we use this money as a guarantee for loans that can be made to the owners to do the reinforcement work on these buildings. If they default, we then wind up with the housing department having the buildings, but the work will be done. And that's the only course that we really ought to do. I am very concerned about transferring this money. I think we need to hold off on it. Why don't we hold off on the transfer of the money? I'm very supportive of the PACE program also, but maybe we need to find some other funds for that. Maybe, Mr. Ridley Thomas, you suggested that we try to find in finance. Yeah. I think that's the place to resolve the issue of the PACE funds, because I don't want PACE to die either. I think PACE is important. But on a basis of public safety and human life, this is more critical than PACE. And there's no other way to describe it. Not that PACE isn't important, but I would suggest, and I'm going to move it as an amendment to the amendment, that we not appropriate the $450 at this time, that we withhold on A and send the entire thing to the budgetary process so we can make a determination how we can keep both programs alive. And I would suggest that we also send this to the housing, Mr. Svornich Committee on Housing, so that we can find the funding to do both. I think it's important to do both. I think taking this money now, and the story about needing all these inspectors, it's just not true. Every time you go to building and safety and you want them to do something, they say, well, we need 50 more bodies. It's not true. We know exactly who these buildings are, where they are. We know which ones have complied, which ones haven't. It's very simple. All we got to do is send them an order and say, look, If you don't do the work, the basic work, the minimum work that was required in the original ordinance in 1 year, you're going to lose your building. Your building is going to be certificate of occupancy, and we're going to tear it down. Either that or we'll make sure that somebody takes it over and does the work on it so that it can be saved for low-cost housing. And that is a factor also, by the way. So I suggest that I'm going to ask that we send the whole thing to the budgetary process. Let's not take this $450,000 now, because in April, the entire PACE program shuts down?
Yep.
When is the budgetary process?
As it is right now, the PACE program is funded through March 31st, 1998. Right now, we do not have authorization to proceed with PACE beyond April 1.
Okay, but beyond April 1?
April 1, yes.
How much does it cost each month to fund PACE?
PACE costs approximately $75,000 a month.
Okay, and
$80,000
our budget is adopted before June 1st, right? Huh? Before
Yes, sir.
June 1st.
Yes, sir.
Okay, just excuse me. April, May. I move that it costs how much? 75,000 per?
Approximately $75,000 a month, sir.
Okay. I would move in a separate motion encompassing all the others that we appropriate money for April and May to continue PACE, $150,000 from this fund. The new budget is completed by June. Oh, it starts, okay, excuse me, okay, we'll make that $225,000. In other words, half the money will be appropriated to keep PACE going, but we will consider both PACE and the continuation of the seismic program as part of next year's budget. Yeah, take half the 450. That'll keep the program going till we can address it in budget committee, in our budget. But both programs are important. They both need to be addressed. That's my substitute motion. I'll incorporate Mr. Ridley Thomas's amendment in that, and let's go forward with that. I think that's the proper way. That keeps PACE alive. It also shows that we are acting responsibly, and it may wind up, hope it never does, it could wind up being a defense in a liability suit against the city and us personally.
Mr. Alatorre.
How much does the program cost to the end of this fiscal year?
As Mr. Councilmember Burnson calculated, for the month of April, May, June, 3 months, $225,000 for 3 months, sir.
All right. So in other words, the amendment that was offered would cover you to the end of the fiscal year. Is that correct?
That is correct.
And during that time, during the budgetary process, we would have an opportunity of continuing the program for the next fiscal year or dealing with that issue at the budget time. I just do not want to see the program stop between now and the end of the year and not have enough money so that the program doesn't continue on to the end of the fiscal year, and then I'll be having no problem, and I'm sure that Ms. Walters is concerned, as I am, and others on the committee, that the program continue to do the work that it's been doing, which I believe that it's a good program, and I want to continue it. But just to allay the fears that others have no problem, so long as you're funded until the end of the fiscal year, and once the fiscal year ends, by that time we will already dealt with the budget and we can deal with this issue.
Second.
Okay.
How much money does it take per building of URM money?
Mr. Ridley Thomas.
Move the previous question, Mr. President.
Okay, prepare the roll on the previous question. Tabulate the vote.
13 eyes.
I guess everybody was tired of the... Okay, we have, how many motions do we have?
Councilman Alatorre, second Burnson substitute motion. Okay.
Okay, would you tell us what that is?
The substitute motion for the entire matter before you today would be to appropriate $225,000 for the balance of fiscal year to continue the PACE program and consider both the PACE and the URM seismic repair program as part of next year's budgetary process.
Fine.
Okay.
That knocks out what's on the desk.
Everything. Prepare the roll.
Did you want to vote on the question of whether to substitute?
Yes.
Or just vote on the substitute? No, this is a substitute for the entire matter before you. to appropriate $225,000 for the balance of the fiscal year to continue the PACE program, and to consider both PACE and your URM seismic repair program as part of next year's budgetary process.
Does this...
Okay, prepare the roll on that
Well,
motion.
I've seen it...
This is on the question of whether to substitute.
Yeah, the previous question has been called.
Mr. President?
Yeah.
This is on the question of whether to substitute.
Prepare the roll. Tabulate the vote.
12 ayes, 1 no.
That is approved.
All right, now the motion is before you.
All right, prepare the roll on the substitute motion. Tabulate the vote.
13 ayes.
That is approved. Forthwith on that, and forthwith on 7, 8, and 9.
38 called special. This is the Prop 5 motion. Alarcon.
Members of the council, could we have the Board of Public Works people here? We have a couple people who want to be heard, so let's have the public hearing first, and it's a public hearing item. Nima Joyce and Richard Slauson and Leonard Shapiro.
Good morning, City Councilman. I'm Richard Slauson with the Los Angeles and Orange County Building and Construction Trades Council. And I would like to speak in support of the motion to Prop 5, the contract on the rehabilitation of City Hall. The City of Los Angeles has long had a policy for awarding bids on public works projects that maintains that the contract should be awarded to the lowest responsible bidders. That requirement has been applied to general contractors as well as subcontractors. The Board of Public Works has made a decision that we feel is in error. This contract holds a special meaning to all the citizens of Los Angeles, especially the craftsmen and women that the Building and Construction Trades Council represent. We view the requirement to award the project to the lowest responsible bidder as unbendable. The general contractor, Clark Construction, has listed some subcontractors that they have selected for their bid as required by the State of California Contracts Code. They have listed each contractor that would perform 1/2 of 1% of the total bid for the entire project as the law requires, and 2 of these contractors, the subcontractors, have a record of non-responsibility on past public works projects where they have been employed, including the City of Los Angeles projects. The first is Helix Electric. Helix Electric has a long list of violations of the State of California prevailing wage requirements under Labor Code Section 1771, 1774, and 1775, and is attested to by a list of public works projects where Helix has been required to pay back wages and penalties. Also listed are violations of the state apprenticeship requirements under Labor Code Section 1777.5, which calls for and allows the use of apprentices on public works projects. Helix had to be directed to pay employees journeyman rates on projects where they had paid employees as apprentices when they were not indentured in an approved apprenticeship program. Helix Electric should be declared non-responsive. The second subcontractor is Diamond National Glass, who has written a letter to the Glazers Joint Labor Management Apprenticeship Program rejecting their participation in the apprenticeship program in violation of Labor Code Section 1777.5. In a time when the City of Los Angeles is supporting local hiring programs and obligated to observe state-approved apprenticeship requirements, it's obvious that Diamond National Glass is not the lowest responsible bidder. I believe that the Board of Public Works should have eliminated these 2 contractors from the process because of their past record.
Mr. Slauson, we have other people who want to be heard, so please.
I'll close then. I just wanted to say that the Board of Public Works has excluded contractors for as little as filling out a form in pencil rather than ink. The workers in this city deserve the proper pay rates and access to apprenticeship programs, and unless these contractors are substituted, that will not happen. Thank you.
Mia Jordan, did you want to be heard? Or Joy? Janer, is it?
No, it's Jayroe, Jayroe.
Thank you. Go ahead.
Thank you. My name is Nima Jayroe, and I'm a business representative for the Glazers, Local 636. I also work with compliance. Diamond National Glass Company has all of the council members were given a packet this morning with copies of unfair labor practice charges where they have mistreated their workers. They have been found guilty in one instance and have another charged file that is being investigated by the National Labor Relations Board now. They are not in compliance on apprenticeship. They've broken the laws in the past and have thumbed their nose. If this contract is given to this subcontractor, the city is aiding and abetting in that type of bad behavior. It's the same as approving of it when you give them work when they've broken the law in the past. Thank you.
Leonard Shapiro.
Mr. President, I agree with this action to Prop 5, this item, and I agree with the previous speaker who said that when people are guilty and with a long record of irresponsible labor conduct and violations involving state and federal labor laws, I believe that should be looked into. But while you're on the subject of this City Hall and the $11 million and the $2 million subcontracts, remember what's happening with the City Hall. $97 million was appropriated originally to repair it, and I go along with that. I just should bring it up to seismic standards. Then it went up to, right now we're talking $300 million. Before you're done, you're going to be spending $500 million till you can make this habitable the way you want it to be. I don't think that's the way to go. I think you should put the minimum in this building and make it a museum. If it's got history here, built since 1927, good. Keep it. But there's too many properties around here that you can build on. Right across the street here is one. And the Hall of Justice that the county owns and wants to get rid of is another one. And there's all kind of areas that you can put up a new building, complete, modernistic, for $150 million like the MTA did. You know it's proven to you. It can be done and will be done. Why horse around with all these subcontracts and contracts and fix this up and fix that up? You're going to end up with a piece that's a museum piece, not a building to operate out of. I think that the city council has to sit down and say we need an efficient operation, we need an efficient building, we need a room where we can be heard, we need a room where we can take action, and we're going to build a new building and use this for a museum.
Thank you.
It's time you did it.
Arthur Geller.
Thank you, Mr. President. Mr. Shapiro is a tough act to follow. I'm not quite as fired up as he is. My name is Arthur Geller. I am Vice President of Human Resources with Helix Electric. I'd like to bring to the Council's attention that Helix was the target of an investigation by both the State Labor Commissioner's Office and the Federal Government Department of the Navy, Division of Public Works, and completely exonerated of the charges that were alleged today as being false and misleading. If you'll bear with me, I'd like to read one short paragraph from the Department of the Navy's investigation with regards to whether or not Helix is responsible or not. A responsibility check has been conducted on Helix Electric. This check confirms that Helix Electric is willing and able to perform the proposed contract. Accordingly, the contracting officer has concluded that Helix does have a satisfactory record of integrity and business ethics, a satisfactory performance record, and has been determined to be responsible under the definition. In summary, your allegations, and this pertains to allegations that were brought forth by the IBEW, your allegations against Helix Electric pertain to charges that were withdrawn, corrected, and which were not recent occurrences. The gentleman from the building trades is talking about items that go back to 1988. Furthermore, and I'm quoting again from the Navy's letter, there is no persuasive evidence that any of the alleged violations were willful or intentional. Ladies and gentlemen, I submit to you this is not about any alleged prevailing wage violations. This is simply about the right of a non-union contractor to conduct this bid in the city of Los Angeles. Thank you.
Richard Helm or Heim, or I don't know if...
Mr. President, that's Richard Heim. I'm the Senior Vice President of the Clark Construction Group. We are the recipient of the contract and the low bid on the renovation of City Hall. I'll be very brief. We are the same general contractor that successfully completed the Los Angeles Convention Center on time, under budget, without any litigation whatsoever. About a week ago, I reassured the Department of Public Works that the Clark Construction Company would ensure that all its subcontractors, every one of them, are in full compliance with the law in regards to prevailing wage. We do about 70% of our work, which is about $1.5 billion a year under Public Works. We're very familiar with the prevailing wage regulations, and I will go to extraordinary lengths to reassure both the city as well as the IBEW that the Clark Construction Company, the full faith and credit in the Clark Construction Company, will indeed see that both these subcontractors totally abide by the law. Thank you, Mr. President.
Thank you. All the cards we have for the public hearing is closed. Bernard Gelpin, would you and Mr. Westhoff fill us in on this?
Chris, good morning, Mr. President, council members. Christopher M. Westhoff, Assistant City Attorney and General Counsel to the Department of Public Works. The first thing that I think needs to be clarified is that the City of Los Angeles is not contracting directly with Helix Corporation. We are going to be, if so decided by the council, contracting with Clark Construction Company. Clark, in turn, is responsible for ensuring that all of their subcontractors are in compliance with all the rules, regulations, and laws of the city of Los Angeles. That does not mean, however, that the city must accept a non-responsible contractor as a subcontractor no more than we would accept a non-responsible contractor as a prime contractor doing business with the city. When the allegations were brought before the Department of Public Works prior to the board holding a hearing, the Inspector of Public Works conducted a thorough investigation of the allegations set forth against Helix Corporation relative to their responsibility or non-responsibility. After the evaluation of that evidence, the Inspector of Public Works sat down with the Office of the City Attorney and the Office of the City Engineer, and the three of us reviewed what was there. It was our collective judgment that there was insufficient evidence to determine that, for the Board of Public Works to determine that Helix Corporation was a non-responsible bidder. The Board of Public Works, the matter was scheduled before them. They conducted a hearing. All parties were given a fair opportunity to be heard, and both the inspector and myself and the city engineer gave our views that there was insufficient evidence to declare them non-responsible. Alleged new evidence was brought up at that hearing, evidence that had not been presented to the Inspector of Public Works prior to that date of that hearing. The board continued it for a week to allow the inspector an opportunity to review that evidence. After taking a look at those allegations and investigating it thoroughly, the Inspector of Public Works again concluded that first of all, there was no new evidence which substantiated, and that at best they were allegations which at this point were unsubstantiated, and therefore the recommendation of the Inspector of Public Works, the City Attorney, and the City Engineer was again that there was insufficient evidence before the board to declare them a non-responsible bidder. And it is that decision of awarding the contract to Clark Construction Company and the finding that there was insufficient evidence that Helix was a non-responsible bidder that is before you in the question being raised by Councilmember Alarcon relative to the Proposition 5 request.
Anyone else there want to be heard? City Engineer?
I'm mainly here to answer questions. Just to reiterate that the board awarded the contract last Monday. The clock's running on the contract right now. Any action now is, in essence, may impact the schedule of the project.
All right, Mr. Alarcon, this is your motion. I'm going to call you first.
Councilmember, clearly we do not want to delay this contract. That is not a goal of this Prop 5 action. But the point is that we've received some serious allegations with regard to two of the subcontractors that are proposed, that are part of the Clark Prime contractor. I just think that it's high time that we step in a very serious way on issues of prevailing wage with regard to contracts. One of the problems with this particular investigation, in terms of trying to investigate this evidence, is that the state has not been completely cooperative in terms of providing information. Is that not true, Mr. Gilpin?
That's correct.
And so a lot of the allegations that are being raised by the unions, we can't get an answer out of the state. In fact, in one case, I believe they dismissed a decision on the lower level by a labor commissioner, and tell me if I'm wrong, but there was a case where one of these companies was charged over $200,000 in back pay, and yet it was dismissed at the highest level.
I'm not able to corroborate that. I don't have the state records.
Okay, but in any case, these are the kinds of allegations that I think deserve to be investigated further. And I don't think that the commission had the opportunity to fully understand or to have all of the information with regard to these allegations. Now, I'm not trying to delay this project. That is not the goal. The purpose here is to find out whether these two subcontractors have had a history of violating the principles of prevailing wage, and if so, that we find them to be non-responsive and direct the contractor to substitute those subcontracts. And now we're on a short timeline, obviously. If we Prop 5 it, that would cause a delay in the negotiation of the contract, and the clock starts ticking. What I am asking is that we have a hearing as quickly as possible to determine if there's any substance to these allegations, and to what extent, and if as a result of any substance that is discovered, whether we should find these two contractors to be non-responsive. As I understand it, we can continue this matter until tomorrow to decide whether or not to have a decision on the Prop 5. And if we did, that would not slow down the project whatsoever. In the meantime, we could try to do what we can to determine how quickly we could have a public hearing in order to have the opportunity to consider information to determine whether it's more information than was presented to the Public Works Commission or not. If it was more information, I think we ought to bear it in mind as we make a decision on this. So the point here is to try and determine whether or not these companies have had a history of violating the principles or the law with regard to prevailing wage. If we can do that by tomorrow, that would be great. But in any case, we're going to have a public hearing to determine whether or not, once we determine take a Prop 5 action, we would have to have a hearing to make a further determination. So that's the status. I think that given this case, given this contract, clearly when we issue these large contracts, we have all these subcontractors, and it's important that we determine if they are responsive or not. And particularly in the case where we have a company that's alleged to have a history of violations with regard to prevailing wage, we ought to take another look.
All right. Ms. Goldberg.
Yes, I'm willing to wait till tomorrow, but I have read the packet on one of the two. I did not read the other yet. But since 1989, there has been a history with Helix, not of just allegations, but of actual findings by state and federal commissions of labor standard, boards of labor standards, saying that they have interfered with the right to organize, that they have fired people for trying to organize, that they have failed on hundreds of occasions to pay prevailing wage. They've been cited. This is not conjecture. And now in November of '97, there are new charges. On the Ontario Airport project, they were cited so far, I haven't finished it, so far I'm up to 72 times for not following specifications, some of them admittedly very small. Some of them, like the bolts holding down light standards, are a little more serious. I just think that our experience has been with the building and construction trades that though they would prefer to work only with union contractors, I have seen them repeatedly not complain about non-union contractors. I don't think this is just because Helix is not a union contractor. It's because they've had particular experience across the country with this organization over a period of years dating back to '87, '88, '89 that give them reason to believe that this is not somebody that will provide us either with the best service or with fairness to the employees that are involved. I can't speak about Diamond National because I haven't read the report yet. I would like to continue this a day, but I will tell you that I think these are very serious allegations, and the number of them already that I have read that have been found accurate in the late '80s and early '90s lead me to be very concerned about this employer and getting the job done the way we want to get it done. So I would urge that we hold this a day, and that colleagues, I would urge you to read the packets.
Mrs. Walters.
I just received the information this morning and have just really gone through it very quickly. And I see that there were violations that went all the way to the National Labor Relations Board with respect to the job here at 4th and Broadway, the rehabbing of the old Broadway department store into a state office building. And I think the other things that are contained in the packet are serious enough to say that these companies have a history of violating labor relations standards, and that the city really ought not to be a party to that. And we ought to have it in our contracts that people who have these kinds of histories will be declared non-responsive bidders or are considered non-responsive bidders. So I would support the Prop 5 today or tomorrow in order to do it. But I think it really needs to be done.
Anyone else want to be heard on this? There is a motion.
Motion to continue one day and in the interim conduct a public hearing.
Where will
Is
the
that
public
tomorrow?
hearing be
Where and
held?
who is going to conduct it?
Where will the public, we had a public hearing today.
We had a public hearing on the issue of whether to Prop 5 or not. I think we have to, I would refer to this city attorney in terms of, we have to give notice to the two subcontractors.
You can't give notice for one day.
You can have special.
I never said, I never said we
What is
could.
before the council is that you will take jurisdiction of this contract and the award of the contract, and the contract will not be awarded. The contract will be on hold. The consequence of that is the project will be on hold as well. There is a consequence, I think, of roughly $50,000 a day for that. The question is that is the process that you will use that will be different than somehow different than the Board of Public Works. The Board of Public Works, through the Department of Contract Administration, has been reviewing these charges for 4 to 6 weeks. And as a result of that, those findings plus the city attorney's opinion is that there is nothing substantive enough to deny this contract, and accordingly the Board of Public Works voted for it. If you Prop 5 it and begin an investigation, it is with, and city attorney can correct me, but I believe the notices would at least have to be a week, and then a week subsequent to that after you've heard that, you're talking about a delay in this project of 2 to 4 weeks, minimally, if we could find the information. That has not been able to be found up to this point. So.
Okay, I would suggest we not continue this matter and act on it today. Prepare the roll.
To assert jurisdiction, it'll require 10 votes.
Well, then we can't, we have to, can't continue it until we assert the jurisdiction. Prepare the roll.
This is to
This
assert
votes
jurisdiction.
whether to Prop 5 or not,
Prop 5.
which
I urge a no vote. Prepare the roll. Tabulate the vote.
9 ayes, 4 noes.
Yeah, well, it failed. Mr. Holden was recording him as a no vote. The next item.
Before going into closed session, Mr. President, this is the time for comments from the public on non-agenda items.
We have a couple. We have a couple specials. Are those going to be taken? Our Leonard Shapiro.
Mr. President and council members, I attended a meeting of the elected LA Charter Reform Commission last night at the St. Nicholas Orthodox Greek Church in Northridge. There's 175 people there approximately. I was disturbed. I was very disturbed by what I heard there. They claim that in this meeting, they wanted as many people from the public to come there, and they say, give us your opinion. We want to hear what you got to say. And when it came down to the nitty-gritty, they only had time at first to hear 10 people. And when most of the crowd had disappeared, they heard 10 more. In the course of the discussion, I want to bring to your attention and the attention of the listening audience here that what this commission, the elected commission, has done reiterates my thinking that this commission has completely sold out to the mayor of Los Angeles. In fact, they distributed these circulars from the mayor saying options that the mayor supports, creating a city finance department, budget office, and so forth. And of course, the Charter Commission said the same thing. They support this. And then it says options the mayor opposes. And it lists a few things on here. And then options on which the mayor takes no position. My point, ladies and gentlemen of the City Council, is just this. If the mayor has time to participate in a meeting of an elected commission, which everybody said he lost, that the unions won, the city unions won, and the City Council won, but still,
All right, Mr. Shapiro, come on.
it is not 3 minutes yet, Mr. President.
No, you don't get 3 minutes yourself. Mr. Robinson's next. Go ahead.
We'll cut you off.
And if I'm a disgrace, what are you, Mr. Shapiro?
Mr. President.
Mr. Robinson, you have the floor.
Mr. President, Mr. President, members of council, when Mr. Shapiro equates the gross crimes of former Los Angeles Mayor Frank Shaw with the gross public speaking is my forte. Please bear with me while I attempt to give structure to a relatively disorganized mind here. When Mr. Shapiro equates the gross crimes of former Los Angeles Mayor Frank Shaw with the gross injustices dealt Mr. Alatorre, he is engaging in hyperbole. Thank you.
Put the phone down. See who else you got.
Okay, the public hearing is closed. Sergeant, would you control that loud mouth? You had about 10 minutes, Mr. Shapiro. If you take all the time, Mr. Shapiro, your blood pressure is getting high, Mr. Shapiro. The public hearing is closed. You ought to. Okay, the next item.
Special one, Mr. President, is on the desk. It was introduced this morning by Councilmember Wax. The necessary findings would have to be made. The city attorney will go over those with you.
Okay, special one is. You want to explain that? Sorry.
Mr. Wax. President, members of council, this is what this is consistent with what we have done
on 2 prior occasions when city employees are called up for active military duty in order to maintain their level of pay, because there would be obviously a differential between what the armed forces would pay and what we pay, and their medical and dental benefits while they're gone. About 25 members of the city staff have already been received notices of being called up. And it would also encourage and ask that other local governmental agencies and private employers treat their employees in the same way. If people are willing to put their lives on the line for the country, we ought to at least be willing to support them and make sure that their families are taken care of while they're gone.
Okay, prepare the roll on the findings. Tabulate the vote.
13 ayes.
That's approved. Now we have a motion before us, special 1. Prepare the roll.
I'm going to speak.
You want to speak?
Yes.
Okay, Mr. Holden.
Mr. Wax, this motion is associated with personnel who are city's employees who may be called into active duty for in the Gulf conflict, supporting the President of the United States. No. If these men and women are called into active duty at the request of the President, is that correct? I support the President 100%. And
which one?
President, you, Ms. Farrar, and President Clinton. And I'm putting my name in the hat so he can call me up also, because I think this is something worth doing for the U.S.
Okay.
I mean, nothing like standing up for your country.
That's right.
And your flag and all. And I applaud you, Mr. Wax. You join up with me.
Mr. Alatorre.
I want to echo the very patriotic words of Mr. Holden. And I concur with his comments that we should both support the President of the City Council and the President of the United States. Thank you.
Oh, okay.
Mr. Wax.
I want to make this clear. My motion is to support the employees.
That's right.
And the employees are the ones that are being called up, and we want to
by the
make sure
President.
that they and their families are made whole.
Okay, prepare the roll.
Hey, Joe Wax, come on. We're playing.
The motion to instruct the city attorney to prepare the necessary ordinance.
To do what?
To provide these employees with the benefits that they have in the
They
past.
get called for the Gulf War II.
Gulf 2.
Gulf War II.
Hal, we
The
pay the
sequel.
difference between their military salary and what they're paid here.
Gulf 2, the sequel.
Okay, did you want to be heard, Ms. Goldberg?
No.
Okay, prepare the roll. Tabulate the vote.
13 ayes.
Forthwith on that. Forthwith on 38. Next item.
I would like to move to reconsider item 13 to hold it over 1 day so I can ask the Housing Department a question about it.
Is there any objections to reconsidering 13? Seeing none, that'll be the order, and it'll be continued 1 day. Next item.
Special 2 on the desk. It's a motion introduced this morning by Councilmember Galanter. The necessary findings would have to be made prior to acting on the motion. The city attorney will go over those with you. Special 2.
Members and Mr. President, in order for the council to take action on Ms. Galanter's motion as provided for in the Government Code and Rule 23 of the Rules of the City Council, it is necessary that this action be dealt with immediately, and that the need for action arose after the posting of the City Council's agenda for today's meeting. The proposed finding?
Speak to us.
Yeah, this is just on consideration of the motion.
Okay, we have to have the findings first.
Yes.
Prepare the roll on the findings. Tabulate the vote.
13 ayes.
That is, the matter is before us. Ms. Galanter.
This is a motion requesting the Department of Water and Power, whose general manager has been sitting here all morning waiting to do this, to report to us on the study the State Department of Health Services has announced it's going to release but hasn't released yet, that we understand may have some implications for our own water system. And because the news media have gotten a hold of this, but not the actual study, they've gotten hold of the fact that there will be a release of a study, there is a possibility that the public is going to become more seriously alarmed than is appropriate. But the study apparently will raise questions that need to be dealt with. So this is simply to have the department report to us on what we know now. And I would
Mr.
urge
Freeman, why don't you come forward?
Don't we have to adopt the motion first so that we tell them to report and then he can report?
Okay. Okay, prepare the roll on the special one. Tabulate the vote.
13 eyes.
Thank you.
All right.
Mr. Freeman. It's all
Mr. Freeman, got your white hat there.
Yes, sir, because our water is clean. Mr. Bruce Kubler, who's our water quality expert, is accompanying me. Our policy at the department is to be the messenger and pass on any information we have as soon as we get it. The Department of Health is beating the drums about this study that they intend to release on the 18th, and it's leaked out to the press. Fundamentally, here's what we understand their study says, that they sampled some 5,000 people in California, and of the 5,000 people, 2% of them, about 100 people, drank 5 glasses of water each day. And of these 100 people, the women in the first trimester of pregnancy, 15% had spontaneous abortions. Those that didn't drink the water, 9% had abortions. So that you have a study that raises a very weak but quantifiable risk that if someone drinks 5 glasses of water with a current situation, that they would be a spontaneous abortion. Now, the material that is the villain here is a byproduct of cleaning up the water. So we have a dilemma. We have water that is quite within the safety standards of the health department, and chlorine is one of the main ingredients that we have, a disinfectant to clean the water. You put enough chlorine in the water and it creates what are called trihalomethanes, THMs. There was a suspicion that these THMs might conceivably cause cancer, and that was a study 20 years ago. A standard of 100 parts per billion was imposed. We have got our water down to where it has only 42 parts per billion. That's on the average. It's well within the standards. This new study suggests that the averages don't count, that if you have any maximum dose at any one time that's greater than 75, that there may be a problem. We are examining each and every approach that we can to satisfy this. If it becomes a new standard, if the health department actually comes out and makes a judgment that this is a concern. My attitude is that we pass on immediately to the public whatever information we have, because there's a very simple way to avoid the problem. You boil water for 1 minute and then put it in the refrigerator and keep it cool, and you have clean water. Of course, people could buy bottled water. We're examining other options. We have done a lot of work to bring the level of these THMs down. We use ozone rather than chlorine at our filtration plants. But there are limits to what you can do immediately. I'm on the board of the Metropolitan Water District, and I, at the meeting Monday, asked them to speed up their switching from chlorine to ozone at their filtration plants. And we want to mix the water better in the summer so that we don't have one part of the city having a problem others. In any event, we are prepared to report back to the respective committees any questions and concerns, but felt that this brief report might be of some help this morning, because the story is already broken out into the press, and you will probably be asked questions, and we're here to be of whatever help we can be this morning. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. President. I want to make some comments and raise some questions. First, I must say that I am disappointed, and I hope this changes, in the department even referring to bottled water. The material that I saw last night, that I take it has been memorialized today in final form, suggests the department saying, A, boil your water, but B, you can also use bottled water. Just to put it on the table, there are no standards for bottled water. It could be the bottled water comes from a source that in fact is chlorinated in the first place. So I think bottled water is a bad idea for us to be recommending to anybody, and hope we say so. Secondly, I think it'll be important, perhaps our city attorney can focus on this. Having done work in this area in my prior life, I know that this is a moment when scam artists will come out of the woodwork seeking to promote water filtration systems that are unduly expensive and don't do what they're supposed to do. We need to make some public education effort about that. Third thing, I want to point out a map that I think everybody here has now, that DBP distributed, and it goes to Mr. Freeman's point regarding averaging versus peak times. The point is, if you take the standard that currently exists, on the average, in the aggregate in the city, we meet the standard that currently exists. That will probably be lowered because of the DHS study. But there are areas and times around the city when the average is not the point, when the maximums significantly exceed even the current standard that is likely to be ratcheted downward as a result of the study. And those numbers can be very seriously high, and I think in the summertime in some areas may be particularly high. So women who are pregnant in the summertime in some areas of town, notwithstanding our statement that in fact our average is okay, will in fact be drinking amounts of water with amounts of THMs in them that could be too high. The next thing I want to focus on, there is a THM that is called bromodichloromethane, which in your material, David, indicates that 18 parts per billion, far below 75 per billion that is the regular standard, are dangerous. And so what I'd like to do as I conclude here is to ask you two questions. First, to speak in some detail about what the department can do regarding bromodichloromethane. And secondly, if you look at the map that you distributed, it's interesting to note that notwithstanding the maximums being quite high in some cases in certain parts of town, which gives one pause, that the maximums have declined from 96 to 97. In other words, the water is getting better in this key respect. I want to know why.
Well, to answer one of your questions, we are going to focus, now that we have at least a sneak preview of this study and know that it's coming, concentrate on a better balancing of the various water sources in the summer months, so that we will not have a peak situation in one part of the city that's far in excess of
why
the
do you get better,
others.
though, David? Why do you get better from 1 year to? What have we done to improve it, and if we continue to do that?
Well, let me just mention, if I could, since there's some sense of disappointment, maybe I'll give you something you can brag about. One of our employees invented a technology called RIOS in the last couple of years that gives us the ability to predict when the amount of chlorine will cause algae to grow, and we have been able to therefore reduce the amount of chlorine. There's a direct correlation between how much chlorine you put in the water and in the creation of the THMs. So with the help of our RIOS technology, we've been able to regulate our chlorine. This utility also, long before I got here, switched to ozone at the filtration plant, something that I'm urging the Metropolitan Water Board to accelerate doing so. We are ahead of the curve in those two respects, and I think that accounts for some of the progress. Perhaps Mr. Kubler could answer your question about the one item that can only be 18%.
Right, but with regard to bromodichloromethane, it behaves similar to the other three components that make up THM. So any things that we do to reduce total THMs will have a proportionate reduction in the bromodichloromethane. And it's removed. The test we did on how long you have to boil water to remove it, it showed similar reduction percentages as the total THM. So
we don't have maps that show the.
All right, Ms. Goldberg.
I have information about the bromodichloromethane concentrations if you'd like to see that.
Ms. Goldberg.
Is there a time of day when these THMs are likely to be higher than other times of day?
Typically, they don't vary too much. I think they vary mostly with regard to the amount of chlorine we're using to control algae in our open reservoirs.
Well, because you have a difference between 0.70, I'm looking at Central for 97, and 99.75, which is quite a difference between the minimum and max. First of all, is it safe to drink it when it's at 0.70?
Yes, it is. We always maintain an adequate chlorine residual.
Oh, so 0.70 is enough to do what you need to do.
Yeah, this is not the chlorine concentration. This is the
I'm talking about
trielement.
THMs. So, but there isn't a particular time of day or a particular part of the month, so you just don't know what you're drinking,
You know,
whether it's at the high end or the low
the
end.
amount tends to vary more seasonally, depending
I
on
see.
the water we receive. When we're receiving more water from the Metropolitan Water District, it has a higher formation potential.
Well, then, how come the harbor area, which is at all MWD, it looks like, has so little variance, is between 53 and 40?
It uses in that area chloramine as the disinfectant, and because of the chloramine, it doesn't form these compounds as quickly. So the levels there are more stable, but they're higher on the average because of the Metropolitan Water District water we use.
So why don't we use chloramine in the other parts of the system?
Do you want to answer that? Or?
Well, the reason is that if you use chloramine, it will facilitate the growth of algae in the open reservoirs, which will clog the water system and in turn cause these THM, so you move in a circle.
I see. So some of this relates to the open reservoirs again.
Yeah, yes, ma'am. But I want to make it clear that we do not consider covering those reservoirs to be an option.
Okay.
Okay.
All right, I think I've got enough here. And
Yeah.
the difference between the spontaneous abortion rate was 15% and 9%?
Yes, ma'am. I want to stress the fact that I feel an obligation to be the messenger and pass on any information we have. But this is a very, very thin basis for making a final judgment. The fact of the matter is boiling the water for 1 minute is not that difficult a solution. But I think the jury is really not in on this issue. We went through the whole business with the electromagnetic fields, where the first research showed some problem and people were considering moving out of their homes and things like that. And now the Academy of Science tells us it's not a problem. This may or may not end up that way, but why take the risk? I mean, it just seems to me that people have perfectly capable of exercising a judgment here.
Ms. Galanter.
Let me see if I can articulate two problems here. One that is a logistical one. Well, they both are, I guess. The problem is we still don't actually have this study, right?
That's
the department
correct.
has not released it. So we're in the position of sharing with the public limited information that we have, because the Department of Health Services, the state agency, has not yet released the study. They've just gone around telling everybody that they're going to. So I think it's important to keep in mind that we don't actually know all of what's in that study because they haven't bothered to tell us. What we do seem to know is that our problem stems in part on where we get the water at different times of the year. So that if the Metropolitan Water District were to shift, as we have already begun to do, to using ozone instead of chlorine, at least a sizable portion of this problem would go away for the water that we use, because the water we get from Met would be in better shape than it is today.
Yes,
Is that
ma'am.
right?
Correct.
So it would seem that all we can really do at this point is say, as soon as the study comes out and the DWP has had a chance to look at it and see what it really says in there, that we might ask you to come back and report to us again in a little more detail about what the State Department is talking about here. I do think it's important that we always run into this problem of correlation versus cause and effect. What we've got here is, and that's what the tobacco industry used to say too. So I think correlation is a useful indicator, but it doesn't actually, all by itself, tell you what the source of the problem is. Do we know whether the difference between 9% and 15% is statistically significant?
Well,
It
I
might
don't
be.
think they would be making this big to-do about the study if they
If they
didn't
didn't
think there
think
was
so.
some significance, but it's just one piece of work. As a technical matter, I don't believe they used the LA's water. They had a lot of samples all over California, but while it may not be relevant, I don't believe that any of the tests were of our water, so you can't say for sure that it applies here, although logically it would.
Sort of poses a challenge to you in trying to find a solution, doesn't it? If they
Yes.
can't even articulate for you what the problem is.
So
Okay,
we
but
will report
as far as
back.
we can tell, if the Met water were in better shape, then the impact on our water system and on what we're able to supply would be a good one.
Yes,
right?
ma'am, and it even gets connected to the Bay Delta issues, that if we were to take the water out of the Bay Delta at places where it were cleaner, that would help a lot. So everything, the world of ecology, as you well know,
Right.
everything's connected to everything else.
Well, right, and also in the world of California water politics. Okay, thank you.
Mr. Burnson?
I must have pressed the button while I was unconscious, but I'm going to speak anyway. What did we do before we knew all these technical things about the water? I grew up in Los Angeles drinking the water. I admit I'm not entirely normal, but, we survived. Why are we getting into this thing now? Is there a liability on our part, or are we admitting liability by issuing a statement like this?
No, sir, we're not admitting liability. Simply a messenger doing what a public servant should do, is passing on to the people that own this water system, the people of L.A., what information I have.
Is the information totally accurate and documented?
Well, the tests that they ran are documented. What they
as far as the quantities-
prove is, I've given the facts. What they prove is subject to conjecture. I don't think they prove anything.
I don't have a problem, by the way, with making any information we have public. That's, I think, an obligation.
Yes, sir, that's all I'm doing.
I just question whether we are accurate in what we're saying, and whether we're spreading a panic, if you will, among the public, thinking our water supply is not safe.
No,
'Cause
sir, I'm trying to make it very clear that I'm not recommending anything, that we're simply passing along the facts that we have.
But the facts that you have, I don't know how accurate or whether they've been substantiated. And I think Mr. Fuhrer had an excellent point for a change. Excuse me, Michael. Mr. Fuhrer had an excellent point when he said that we don't know who's bottled water and what it has in it. So the word bottled water shouldn't be used. Boiled water is fine, or we might at least make the information available. But I think there ought to be some kind of disclaimer in here saying that we don't know absolutely whether the information has been totally documented as to the premature abortions and
I think
things that...
you're entirely right. I've gone further than that, and I'm sort of mildly concerned that the health department hasn't told us about this sooner, and everybody and his uncle seems to know about it, and we haven't got the report yet.
Mr. Freeman, how does our water compare with other water districts? How does it compare with metropolitan water? How does it compare with water
Our water's
systems around the
fine.
world?
Our water is fine.
My
and
understanding is that our water supply is one of the finest in the United States. Is that correct?
That
Or
is
in the world?
entirely correct.
So
And
if ours needs to be boiled by pregnant women, what does that mean for the rest of the country?
it means that
means they shouldn't be
exactly the
drinking it?
same thing.
Okay, I just don't want to see us out on a limb by ourselves. I think it's appropriate that we make whatever information is available to the public available, but I just don't want to result in a scare tactic, that's all.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Wax?
Mr. President, members of council, I don't know what the facts are going to ultimately turn out to be, but I think that the department has to I think you have to come back here, and I'm going to actually make a motion that within the next 2 weeks you come back with a recommendation as to just how you will inform the public. With all due respect, a minimum number of people get their information by reading the newspapers. Some hear things slightly on radio and TV and don't really absorb what's going on. I think at some point we're going to have to consider communicating with the ratepayers of Los Angeles in a readable and informative way what we see the situation to be, and perhaps have in there a number for people who receive it to call if they have specific questions. I'm sure that no matter what we're saying at this table today, there are going to be people, particularly women who lost in the past, people who are pregnant, who are going to have concerns, who are going to want to know who can they speak to. I think that I would like to move that in 2 weeks, perhaps, Mr. Freeman would come back with a recommendation to the council as to how the department will inform the public once it gets the information and makes the assessment and comes to conclusions. I think at minimum, you will have to include mailers within the bills and a number for people who have specific concerns to be able to talk to a knowledgeable person or to be directed to someone. I think we should, I learned this from the Malathion situation. If ever public distrust gets created, it's created when widely differing views of scientific information is sort of put out there in a way that people hear bits and parts of and don't know how it affects them and want to know. We also perhaps need a third thing for people to make complaints or to make, but that would be tied in with the people that they could ask questions of. We have to get more aggressive, I think, in this case, to getting good information out and to giving people an avenue through which they can have their questions answered. And I don't expect you to do it today, but I would like to move that Mr. Freeman come back within 2 weeks with a plan for how you will do that once you have ascertained, you know, the situation and evaluated it and come to some conclusions.
Yes, sir. In the interim, we do have a phone number, 1-800-DIAL-DWP, and we have people to give whatever information we now have. We will be back
You'll
here.
need more once you
Yes,
have
sir,
that.
once we get the study and study it.
Mr. Holden?
Motion. I guess that's what.
Well, the way I read it doesn't mean anything.
That's what it is. It's amending motion.
And what you've done is you just alarmed the people
For
statewide.
reconsideration.
Because if you do an analysis of the impurities in the water in Los Angeles, even various parts of the Los Angeles supply, compare that to San Diego, Orange County, San Francisco, Sacramento, and so on, you're going to have a variation in the water supply and the contaminants that are included in the water supply. Then if that's the case, you're talking about apples, oranges, bananas, watermelons, tangerines. You're not talking about a sample which is consistent, homogeneous at all. Separate bodies of water, separate contaminants. If that being the case, then how can you conclude, even by hypothesis, that this test of 5,000 plus women who were tested is valid, wherein 15, I don't know, I don't think they're saying 15%, they're saying 15% or 15% in one case they drink 5 glasses of water. Where do they drink these 5 glasses of water? San Francisco, where you have fluoridation, which we didn't even want. We voted against fluoridation down here. And we wouldn't support it because of the cancer potential for it. And then you're going to drink water, then down here, you know, it just doesn't make any sense for them to put a report out like this that inconclusive at best, idiotic at worst, because you cannot specify that the samples were the same, the source of water. Isn't that correct?
These were scientifically selected samples all over the state of California.
I know, but we don't have the same.
Let me complete my answer. Done by the California Department of Health. You're shooting the messenger here.
I know that it's in the paper right here. My question to you is that you, who are in charge of DWP here, going to tell me that the source of water supply here is the same as it is in San Francisco? Yes or no?
No, sir.
All right, then what are you talking about?
I'm telling you that they ran samples all over the state.
That's what they say they did. It's called human error. Now, you should, what I would think you ought to do, sir, is check with them to find out whether or not their test is valid before we raise the alarm, ring the bell. And on what basis did they come up with this conclusion? Because what we hear today on Channel 35 saying to the public that they have something to be concerned about, especially young women who like to become pregnant. And I think before we start doing something like that, we ought to know what the facts are. And we don't know what the facts are. We just know what it says in the report. Some come back 10 years later and say the report was not valid. Well, let's find out today before we raise the alarm that it's not valid. And that's easy to do. Just ask him by inspection, where do you get this sample from? Where do you get that sample from? Who did the and then you'll know. No matter what the state says, the state could be wrong. You know that too, don't you?
Anyone can be wrong.
That is right. Then let's find out whether they're right then before we start publicizing
Nate,
what they did that's wrong.
Your time is up.
And I'm right on it too. So I'll get with the
We
department.
never want to bring in things when we're not complete, you know.
Well,
the Raiders are going to be back. Raiders are going to be back. Mr. Savardich.
Thank you, Mr. President, members of the council. I don't think that there's a council member around this horseshoe that probably can speak from experience in regards to the concern that this has for the general public. Because, as most know around this horseshoe, that we had an unfortunate occurrence back in November. And I know that you kind of relive the whole thing when you open up the Los Angeles Times in the morning, and that kind of puts doubt back into your mind on what happened and how it happened and everything like that. So I think the message that needs to go out is that, number one, with all the information we have to date, with tests still being inconclusive, I think people want to know whether or not our drinking water is safe. And I concur with Mr. Wax is that if we need to tell people that to the best of our knowledge our drinking water is safe, then that needs to be communicated to people in a way that they can understand. But I think also what we need to do without spreading panic or without spreading some things that maybe that would cause a panic is that I know a lot of the issues in regards to dealing with pregnancy. When a person first goes to the doctor will, even if there's a shadow of a doubt, say avoid caffeine, avoid aspirin, avoid antibiotics, avoid this or that, even though the preponderance of those things may or may not make a difference in regards to having a successful birth. And so the question that I want to ask, Mr. Freeman, is that do we have information at this point in time that we can tell women who are Los Angeles residents who may consume our drinking water, that are we beyond a shadow of a doubt that we feel that the drinking water is safe, or is it not? Because in reading the press comments, one of the comments, and I don't know if it was attributed to the department, I think it was, I just scanned it, that if someone wanted to be really safe is that they would boil the water. And one of the things that I've never had to hear before in regards to the quality of Los Angeles's water is that we have to boil it in some circumstances. I mean, we hear that if we want to travel abroad, or we're going to be going out of an area where we think the quality of the water historically has not been as good as the city of Los Angeles's. But if we are telling people we think it's a good idea that you boil the water if you are pregnant, that's making a statement in and of itself. And I just want to make sure that the information that we're trying to tell people today, as we get more information, is true and accurate and correct, because I'm sure there's quite a few individuals in our city right now that have that little piece of doubt in the back of their mind, wondering whether or not they have done harm to themselves or could do harm in the future in regards to drinking our water because of the information that's been brought forward. Could you walk us through that a little bit, please?
Yes, sir. You use the correct phrase when you say there has now been a shadow of a doubt raised by the fact that this study has been done and the results leaked out and printed in the LA Times this morning. And I felt that it's my responsibility to come here and to convey to you and the public what facts we have. And that's what we're not advising anyone. But if someone asks me, if you want to eliminate that whether there is a shadow of a doubt, there is. There is a study been done by the Public Health Service of the state of California, which has found that there's a somewhat higher percentage of spontaneous abortions from people that drink water above a certain level. It's not conclusive, and they will explain it further, but that is now part of the information that's out there, and I think that I got very wise advice this morning that we read the study and carefully prepare exactly what we're going to convey to the public and have the mechanisms for doing so. But as you well know, when a story like this breaks, it's out there, and we have done our own investigation, and I'm glad that we actually boiled water in our labs yesterday to find out how long it would take and whether it would in fact provide clean water, and that is an option that a person could choose to take if they wanted to eliminate a shadow of a doubt.
My time is up, but the question I did have, and you're saying that the test was conducted and the department did not have any knowledge that this test was being conducted by the state?
We did not have, and we were not informed of this until a few days ago. They told all the water agencies that this was coming out on February the 18th, and of course it leaked out to the press before then, and here we are. I feel somewhat, you know, at a disadvantage. I mean, the question I feel like I have to answer is to people who've had miscarriages in the meantime. Why didn't the state health department tell us about this as soon as they had the preliminary findings? So you're sort of in a problem either way, but withholding information is just not my style.
Mr. Alarcon.
Council members, I think just by the fact that 1 out of 15 council members was impacted by this specific issue and has the concern which should raise all of our level of concern about this issue, because statistically that would probably mean that everybody in the city of Los Angeles has been touched by this kind of problem, or I should say has been touched by somebody having a miscarriage in their first trimester. And if that's the case, then we certainly owe it to the public to get to the bottom of this as quickly as possible. And I think, you know, there's probably a lot of reasons why people might want to boil their water in Los Angeles. There is another issue that I wanted to raise with regard to, first of all, let's talk about the quality of our water. I think it needs to be reaffirmed that our water is good water compared to any system, including some bottled waters.
Yes, sir.
Okay, so I think it's very important for the public to understand that we have good water. There's no reason to go on a thirst diet or something. Secondly, that we don't have the final evidence that this has caused indeed these miscarriages, but I think we need to in all good faith with the public, give them as much information as we can provide, and I think that's a reasonable action. I'm also concerned, we've had some discussions about fluoride, and I know it's a whole separate issue, but when did we start putting chlorine in our water?
We are not.
We're not. Okay. Where does it come from?
Well, it's something that has to be added to the water to prevent tooth decay that occurs in...
No, I'm not talking about fluoride. I'm talking about chlorine. When did we start putting chlorine? Yeah.
Oh, we've been putting chlorine 7 years ago. 70 years ago.
70 years ago.
Yes, this is the standard method of disinfecting and having clean water.
I guess all I'm trying to say is that as we go through this process, I think we need to be mindful of the potential ramifications and the kinds of issues that might arise when we add things to our water. And as a side note, I think we ought to be studying this process in view of the discussion about fluoride.
Yes, sir.
Mr. Fuhr.
Thanks, Mr. President. Just a couple or three more questions. First, David, I think I just want to be sure I understand this. This morning at your press conference, I understand, you indicated that are considering having water be made available at some of the sites, some of the reservoirs perhaps, that would not go through the chlorination process for people to get directly? I want to understand what that's about.
Yeah, well, Councilwoman Galanter and I discussed this morning that one of the options that we are going to take a hard look at is once we get this study and absorb it, is that we can take our water right at the filtration plant,
right,
before it's chlorinated, and bottle it and make it available, perhaps at a very low price, to people in the city.
I understand. So that's under consideration.
It's under consideration.
Please, besides that kind of bottling, please don't mention bottled water anymore, or have your phone operators do that.
Okay.
Secondly, I want to go back to the bromodichloromethanes for just a second. In looking at that chart, as opposed to the THM chart, the averages are well below 18, but the spikes are by magnitudes higher. Tell me the particular impact of bromodichloromethane that we anticipate it has. I don't understand enough about that. Is that just an escalated version of the THMs generally?
My impression, and we haven't got the study yet, but from the preview of it, is this is the ingredient in the THM that is
the worst?
The worst one.
Okay. All right. And is there anything that in particular, since those the maximum levels for that are more elevated relative to even the current standard than the THMs are generally, is there any particular approach that one can take to single these out, or is it the same chloramine thing that you hope to do after the ozone process is instituted at MJD?
I don't think so. Mr. Keebler
It's
can
the
answer.
same.
No,
It's the same
there
issue.
isn't.
Okay. And just to nail down the state thing just for half a second, have you called the director of state DHS about this?
I haven't personally. Our staff has been in touch with them.
So it seems to me that top to top level discussion, because there'll be other studies that they're engaged in that relate to us as well, and certainly this is a bad precedent for how the interrelationship ought to be functioning.
I think that message needs to be delivered, but I just want to see the study first and see what they say about it.
Although since the source of the information to the paper for a study that hasn't been released yet was clearly them and not you, there is at least something to talk about even now.
There is. I guess we've been too busy the last 24 hours.
You should be focusing on the substance and not on the procedure, but there'll be a procedural thing for down the road. Thanks.
We owe them a phone call. You're right.
Okay. Thanks, Sean.
Ms. Goldberg?
I would just hope that we will get the information back that we've requested, but I think that we should be very careful not to overdo this. Even at its worst, what we need to inform people of is that you should take an extra precaution in your first trimester of pregnancy. And that extra precaution is boil the water for a minute. I just don't think that we should overextend this, because it is true that in urban society, and even in rural society, because of the way we collectively have mismanaged resources of this planet, we have to cure one ill, and it sometimes has an unfortunate side effect, which is it can create other problems. Now, the good thing about research is it tells us what those problems are that we're inadvertently creating. And the good thing about research is that if we can get the information out, people can find a very simple thing to do for 3 months if they are pregnant. Women, for 3 months if you are pregnant, boil the water. Then you don't have to worry about this. And I think that's a very straightforward and simple message. We should send it out. We should send it out effectively and as soon as we can. We should tell everyone else that the research says you are not at risk. Don't worry about it. And I think that we sometimes, in attempting to carry out our duty to protect the public, we sometimes can make a mountain out of a molehill. And the only mountain is for a pregnant woman, and she can do something that's simple and free. Well, there might be. It's a 6% difference. That might be significant. It's certainly enough that if I were pregnant, I would want to boil the water. And I don't know of a woman who, if she were informed, wouldn't want to do the same. So we just need to be sure that they're informed. Thank you.
Ms. Galanter?
I just wanted to point out that the department's in an interesting kind of dilemma here, because if they had not come forward and shared this information and the news stories came out, we would all be jumping up and down here saying, now how dare you hide this from us? And here we have a situation where the department has taken the initiative to say, the state's about to do this, we want to let the public know what's going on, and it's kind of interesting to listen to everybody saying, now let's not blow this out of proportion. Well, I agree we shouldn't blow it out of proportion, but I do think that what we're dealing with here today, if anybody can hear me, is that we actually have the department taking a responsible course of action and letting us know and letting the public know what's going on. I do think we need to wind this up a little bit here, since we've exhausted all the information we've got. And so I'd like to suggest that we not take further action in the council at this time, but that we basically put the department on notice, as Mr. Wax has suggested, that in the event this study shows there is something to all of this. Do we know when the study's going to come out?
The 18th, they say.
Okay, so the study will be out in a little over a week. And once the study is out, we may ask you to come back and report to us after you've had a chance to figure out what the study means for our system. But in the meantime, I would like to thank you for alerting us to this and alerting the public. I think it's a sort of damned if you do and damned if you don't, and it's better that we at least let the public in on what we know.
Mr. Holden?
Yeah, I like while you're doing that, you come back, you kindly share information with us that tell us where the sampling of the water took place for this test. For an example, if 15% of the women who were pregnant had an abortion, then of course, was that 60% of those people lived in a certain general geographic area? Maybe 1% lived in LA, city of Los Angeles. That's important to know, because if that's the case, we know that fluoridation contributed to it, not chlorine. I mean, we can draw some other conclusions. If you're saying it's 15% across the board, then you can say, notwithstanding whether it's fluoridation or chlorine or whatever the case may be, the results is the same, and therefore you can conclude that whenever you put some impurities in the water for whatever purpose, even to make it safe to drink, then this is what the net effect is going to be. It's not something we did which caused them grief. Sir? That this just the way it is. The safety factor is greater than the negative side. The upside is greater than the downside. I think that's what you're basically saying, and that you can't really make it totally perfect, because once it comes down the aqueduct, it picks up a lot of impurities, and which you can settle in the pond, that's more impurities. So therefore, you have to add certain additional impurities to make it drinkable. Is that correct?
That's essentially the problem.
That's the
This
problem.
is a byproduct of making the water clean.
That's right. To make the water drinkable. It ain't going to be
Yes.
clean.
Clean and drinkable, yeah.
You have a filter in there someplace?
Sir?
You have a filter where you filter it?
Yeah, we have a filtration
All right,
plant.
so you filter it for the purpose of make it as clean as you possibly can. Okay, you won't get 100% there either. Is that correct?
Well, we get it well within the drinking water standards, and it's clean.
What's those standards? 99.9.9? What?
Well, it's not expressed that way, but I hear your point. You're essentially correct. Nothing's perfect.
That is correct. Nothing is perfect. And so what you're saying is that we about as perfect as you can be. If it's perfect, you can live to be 200 years old. If it's not perfect, you can live up to 100.
Wait
And if you can get pregnant, you're likely to have
Mr. Freeman, I want you to know that Nate Holden is perfect.
That's why I'm going
He's
on.
the only one. He's the only one.
I'm going on and on.
And
Thank
your
you, Mr.
time is up, Nate. The chair recognizes Mr. Farrell. I move the previous question. Call the roll. Okay. We'd already passed the special one, but Mr. Wax has asked that we get a report in 2 weeks.
On this one, I asked that he come back within 2
I'm
weeks
special too.
with a plan for informing of what we do know.
Actually, what I had suggested was that rather than set a firm timetable on when they come back, if the study is supposed to come out in just over a week, they need to actually figure out the program for what they're going to do it and then ask them to come back.
But we have the general idea. We want to
come back.
We want to know what they decide.
Best way to give it to the public. Okay, then the next item, members of the council, I don't know if there's a Robert Taylor. Robert Taylor, he was here for public comment and I didn't see the card, so we'll give him a few minutes if that's okay with you. Mr. Taylor, go ahead.
Okay, my name is Robert M. Taylor, and before I testify, I live at 701 South Mariposa Avenue, apartment 200, Los Angeles, California, 90005-2002, in the council district of Nate Holden, the 10th one. Okay, I want to expose something today to the office probably of Rita Walters, and this was regarding an incident that occurred at a Carl's Jr. in city property. Last week, I went personally to that Carl's Jr. here at North Los Angeles Street, North Los Angeles Street, local number 103, and I've noticed that the cashier had made an overcharge on some items that I bought personally over there. The overcharge, which was about 42 additional cents, was for a large coffee that I ordered. So I would like to see if somebody from the office of Rita Walters can see if an investigation can be made on about this, because it was on city property. And I already filed a lawsuit against the owner of the business, Mr. Raul Esquivel, in small claims, waiting for a hearing to occur March 11. And if somebody in Rita Walters' office can help me on that, I appreciate it. So
thank you, Mr. Taylor.
this is for the city
Thank you.
council. Thank you.
Okay. All right, the next item,
Motions for posting and referral.
there's no objection, unanimous vote.
Excuses on the desk. Councilmember Miskowski has requested to be excused personal business to leave at noon on February 13th, meets council policy.
Unanimous vote.
Councilman Alacon has requested to be excused city business Friday, February the 13th and Friday, February the 20th. Both dates meet council policy.
Unanimous vote.
Councilmember Riley Thomas has requested to be excused city business Friday, February the 20th, meets council policy.
Unanimous vote.
And Councilmember Savornish has requested to be excused city business February 24th and 25th, meets council policy.
Unanimous vote.
Closed session items 36, 37,
Okay.
and 40.
Okay, all those people not involved with the executive session, please leave the council chamber. Rita, you.
Item.
Hal, is your committee meeting? Do we have any, we're back in open session.
Mr. President, I have an additional excuse on the desk. Councilmember Wax has requested to be excused personal business April the 8th, meets council policy.
Unanimous vote.
The desk is clear, Mr. President.
Mr. President, announcement. Planning and Land Use Management Committee will meet in 5 minutes after council adjourns.
Okay. Do adjourning motions? Any motions? If not, the council is adjourned.